Now, I want you to imagine a player who possessed an uncanny ability to score from anywhere on the court, a basketball whiz with an unmatched basketball IQ, and also who was one of the most fierce competitors the game has ever seen to this date. Someone who rose to the occasion so many times and really never backed down to any challenge or anyone. I'm talking about Larry Bird. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the great Larry Bird and the one player he hated and still hates to this day. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe and like button and let me know what you think of Larry Bird and his most hated rival. I've always wanted to dive in and look at NBA history, and Larry Bird is just such an interesting player to look at. Now, what set Larry Bird apart from his peers was his exceptional versatility. Mans was standing at 6'9". He had a shooting touch of a guard, rebounding prowess of a big man, and the passing ability to make his teammates better. Man, Bird's scoring prowess combined with his deceptive moves and on-court vision made him hard to stop on people's best days. Beyond his individual brilliance, Bird possessed an extraordinary basketball IQ, and he had an understanding of the game. I mean, a deep understanding. He was always anticipating the next play and exploiting his opponent's weaknesses. And this went on for many, many years. However, though, what truly separated Bird was his competitive fire, man. Going up against the likes of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, you needed that. His unmatched will to win fueled his every move on the court, and some of his highlights are just ridiculous to watch. Now, during his career with the Boston Celtics, he led the franchise to 3 NBA championships and constant deep playoff runs. His leadership, both by example and vocal presence, made him the heart and soul of the Celtics during those times. And during the time of the Celtics, Larry Bird had many individual accolades, including 3 consecutive NBA MVPs. Man, that's actually crazy. Now, as we know, Larry had many rivals on the court. I mean, the one that gets brought up the most is his rivalry with the Lakers and Magic Johnson. Now, these two are actually great friends in real life, but it was never like that. These two had many battles, and it took filming a commercial for them to realize that they weren't so different. I mean, we could talk about Dr. J and how Larry had many battles against him, but we're not talking about him. We're going to switch over to the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys. When I think of them, I think of their battles with MJ, absolutely killing him. Now, Larry wasn't too hot on Isaiah Thomas during many battles with them. He was definitely one of his great rivals, but no, we're not talking about Isaiah. We're talking about his teammate, Bill Laimbeer. Now, talking about the Eastern Conference and how far this competitive rivalry went, the Celtics and the Pistons had one of the deepest beefs and rivalries, you could say. The bitterness had reached such a levels that the Celtics walked off the court without shaking their hands after the 1988 Eastern Conference Finals.
Detroit had a similar thing with Boston that we had with them. They had to overcome Boston, and they did. And I can still remember it was the first time that Detroit beat them. And I can see Kevin McHale come out to half court and shaking hands and things like that. Now, Adrian Danby was shooting a free throw, and the Boston Celtics were walking off during the game.
And unlike the Lakers and Celtics rivalry, where it was the top players like Magic and Larry feuded with each other, things were different because mid to late 80s, it was the Celtics and the Pistons. Larry Bird and Bill Laimbeer entered their professional ranks at the same time. Now, Bird was picked with the 7th overall pick. Now, he actually went back to college, and Laimbeer was selected in the 3rd round 1 year later. Now, on the court, they played different positions. Laimbeer was a center, while Bird was a do-it-all forward who could play both the 3 and the 4 with equal ease. Now, while Larry Bird riled his opponents with his trash talk, Laimbeer thrived on his physicality a little too much for his own good. Now, by the mid-1980s, Laimbeer had established himself as probably one of the best Eastern Conference big mans there were, but with his Detroit Pistons on the rise, that's when he essentially became public enemy number 1 for the Boston Celtics. These were the words from Celtics' own Robert Parrish, who had this to say: "If you have nothing nice to say about someone, say nothing at all." Bird was straight to the point, also telling an outlet, "We don't like him that good." Probably the most notable moment in Larry Bird and Bill Laimbeer's feud happened during the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, when Bird's Boston Celtics leading Laimbeer's Detroit Pistons 2-0 heading into Game 3. Went into a night in Detroit and fans were watching at the Silverdome. Must have felt like it was a throwback to WrestleMania that actually happened a few months just before. Now, the scuffle started out in the fourth quarter of the game. The Pistons eventually won 122 to 104. Lambier roughly pulled Bird down to the floor like a tackle. He was actually assisted in Dennis Rodman, who jumped in as well. Now, Bird quickly retaliated, punching Lambier as they were both on the floor. And while Cooler Head stepped in, the two-star players duked it out. Bird wasn't done with the Pistons center. He flung a basketball at Lambier, hitting him hard on the shoulder. Now, I don't know if that done too much damage. Now, after the game, Lambier and Bird issued separate statements, with the former claiming Bird went up for the shot. It looked like Rodman was going to undercut him. I grabbed hold of Larry to break his fall. Lambier, come on, you're not that steezy. Bird wasn't buying any of that, later telling reporters, yeah, right, he was trying to break his fall. And when I threw the ball, I was just trying to get it to the ref. After Lambier sniped back with the this is sarcastic as they come. Larry Legend got the final word, challenging his rival to a one-on-one fight. Sheesh. Ultimately, the Detroit Pistons gained the upper hand in their rivalry with the Boston Celtics and won back-to-back titles in 89 and 90, with Bill Lambier manning the middle. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics began their slow decline after losing their Eastern Conference final rematch with the Pistons in 88, and Larry Bird likewise saw his production decline due basically to a nagging back injury that sent him into retirement. Now, during his February 1993 retirement ceremony, an actual sportscaster come out and said Larry Bird was having a perfect night despite the fact that Lambier wasn't there. Now, Larry Bird responded with, would probably hang him up there, pointing to the rafters. You could just tell these two hated each other. As for Lambier, he couldn't help but make a quick dig at Bird. Basically, Larry Bird's rough last few seasons, and he quoted saying toward the end of his career that he doesn't want to go out like Larry Bird. Now, these two just kept taking shots at each other. Now, even after the retirement, the mutual dislike still went on.
You left a bad blood on the court for the most part, but not with Lambier. I never really ever liked Lambier in any social situation.
No.
Meanwhile, fairly recent comments from Bird suggest that, at least for some quiet time, he remained quite unhappy with the way Lambier conducted himself on the court back in the day. He said that Bill didn't try to hard foul you, he just tried to hurt you. Now, to this day, Larry Bird still doesn't have any respect for Bill Lambier, even off the court. In an interview that we were just talking about, Simmons asked Bird if he ever liked Lambier in any social situation. Bird was extremely quick to answer. No. He was one of them guys when you tried to shoot a jump, he would try to slide his foot underneath your ankle and twist your ankle. Sheesh, Larry does not like this guy. Apparently, no love feeling is mutual, because Lambier was once asked during a radio interview if he was sitting next to Larry Bird, what would he say to him? And Bill Lambier responded with, I'd probably go to a different table. It's clear these two still do not like each other, and it's really fascinating. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that like button, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.